Hi folks, my name is Darren, and my real world case for Psych 51 is AI as an undergraduate writing tutor. I first want to set the background and examine the common media narrative. It's a techno-deterministic narrative that language models uniquely cause permanent sociocognitive changes. As we know, tech pros are really in love with the idea of artificial general intelligence and superintelligence, that large language models are going to save us from climate change and democracy and attain world peace. But we're also finding since 2023 a whole host of journalism from teachers who are arguing the exact opposite, that AI may be slowing or destroying our cognitive abilities, critical thinking, and the value of higher education as a whole. I really want to push back on both tech bros and this kind of journalism from teachers because both assume a simple, predictable causal link, but that's really not the case. Please pause the video here to read Sephora's experience. It is such a rich quote. And I think it really helps us think about the fact that people can gain and learn from these chatbots. And I think Sephora's experience here is really the tip of the iceberg. Sephora cannot be the only person who has learned from a chatbot. There are two concepts from the course so far that really stand out to me. The first is Dr. Kyle Robertson's notion of value capture. Basically, when the quantitative metrics that index the value we really care about get captured by the underlying mechanism. So, one example is info retention at the end of a quarter. A professor might give a multiple choice question exam to their students, but the students may have a host of test taking tricks from their K to 12 or their college experience, like triangulating across exam questions or guessing and using the elimination method on questions that they're really, really struggling. The second phenomenon and concept that I want to touch on is from Dr. Matt Wagers, who discussed that the notion of long-tailed linguistic underrepresentation. So basically, underrepresented languages in the training data correlate with later performance deficits when language models generate text in that language. And this can be a real issue because we want our systems to be very representative and very capable. But these two concepts don't capture the whole story. Value capture has already been happening before language models. I'm of the age where I genuinely remember Slater and exam keys and SparkNotes and essays were higher on the ClearNet when I was in high school. So I think it's more accurate to say that language models primarily accelerate and automate value capture with well-formed text. In a way, quantitative metrics for undergrad level writing are pretty insufficient in the first place. Rubrics can be brittle, word counts are very misleading. Even the argumentative structure of having a thesis and three subpoints can be kind of brittle. And really, so much of what we love about writing is intrinsically qualitative. I actually want to get away from this notion that humans have this unique spark of creativity that it's going to protect us from the big bad evil AI. It's like, no, I mean, we have a whole host of other values that really characterize our writing. We're very insightful when we write. We're effective communicators. We are very clear and textured in our writing. Our arguments are very grounded. We have and use the expressive power and affordances of language. And the text that we produce may be easy or effortful to parse. I also want to critique underrepresentation because it doesn't ask who the tutoring persona is. Can we pattern the chatbot to a white cishet male? Or is the attempt to pattern it incoherent because language models are not legal persons? I do admit language models are not neutral arbiters of language, but we aren't either. We use dialects, we have slang, and our intersected privileges and powers affect the way that we speak. I think it's more constructive to think that human language is a plastic and cultural tool for lifelong learning. The linguistic gains of function, like Sephora did, occurred because we internalize well-formed surface outputs into deep structural roles. This is a huge slide, but I really want to focus on the meso level of analysis, which is basically thinking about cognition as ecologically situated and socioculturally participating. I think it is, I think you can make a pretty valid argument that language models directly influence cognitive processes. I can see LLM chatbots easing the load on working memory. They can really scaffold the writing process. They can generate very personalized practice problems. They might even give us moral encouragement to keep going. But I'm also thinking about how our behaviors and practices with language models are participatory. Like what are we doing to the language model that furthers our learning? And so if social participation mediates or even constitutes cognitive change, then we really need to be applying Vygotsky's zone of proximal development to the current situation. The ZPD basically establishes the difference between what a person can do by themselves and what a person can do with help. I also want to look to cultural studies of apprenticeship versus formal schooling because it may be the case that optimal or successful learning from a chatbot may be closer to an apprenticeship than formal schooling, even though many of us in America have been raised with formal schooling.